The night of September 24th, 2025, didn't feel like a TV finale. It felt like the end of a 20-year fight. Jessica Sanchez stood under the stage lights, 9 months pregnant, lungs burning, voice trembling but steady enough to rip through a Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars song that demanded everything she had left. Her hand cradled her stomach as if to remind herself that she wasn't singing alone. When her name was called as the winner of America's Got Talent, it wasn't a crown dropped on her head. It was a weight lifted off her chest that had been there since childhood. A fight she had been dragging with her since the days when she was just a kid in Chula Vista who couldn't stop singing. Jessica was born in 1995, the eldest daughter in a working-class family. Her mother carried the roots of the Philippines. Her father came from Mexican blood and served in the Navy Reserve. Their house wasn't glamorous, but it was alive with noise. Siblings running around, a girl in the corner trying to outsing the records blasting from the stereo. From the beginning, her voice cut through everything. Teachers noticed, neighbors noticed, strangers at church noticed. By the time most kids were still trying to memorize multiplication tables, she was climbing up onto stages that looked far too big for someone her age. At 10, she made her first real gamble on national television, standing on the stage of the very first season of America's Got Talent. She didn't win, but it planted something. The spotlight never quite let her go after that. By the time she reached her late teens, she was back on a bigger stage, American Idol. That run in 2012 almost broke her wide open. She finished runner-up, celebrated and praised, her voice compared to legends who had defined entire eras. But second place is a strange kind of wound. It gives you everything and still takes the one thing you came for. She left with fame, with exposure, with a career crackling at her feet, but no clean victory. It's the kind of thing that can sit in your gut for years, waiting. When Idol ended, she was pulled into the machine. A label contract, an album, a single with Neo. There was excitement, but also exhaustion. The album climbed into the Billboard charts but stalled out sooner than anyone wanted. Music executives shrugged. The pressure was suffocating. She took guest roles on TV shows like Glee, nodded when people told her she was lucky, and quietly started to wonder if the whole thing was slipping away before she had even had a chance to grab it. The grind after Idol wasn't glamorous. By 2015, Jessica stepped back. She wasn't quitting, but she needed to breathe. She had been living like a product, not a person. So she shifted. She took her music overseas. In the Philippines, the crowds welcomed her with open arms. Her songs climbed charts there, her face plastered on posters, her shows packed. She found success far from the American spotlight that had both given her everything and left her empty. Money came through touring, album sales abroad, and digital revenue from YouTube covers that racked up millions of views even years after they were posted. It wasn't a superstar fortune, but it kept her standing. It kept her voice alive. Those years away also cracked open her personal life. In 2017, a lighting tech named Ricky Gallardo walked into a church where she was performing. He wasn't a big shot, not a producer, not an executive, just a man who saw her sing and couldn't let it go. He messaged her out of the blue, boldly claiming he would marry her someday. She answered, something she rarely did. Weeks later, they were inseparable. By 2021, they married quietly, away from cameras, away from the industry. A tiny ceremony, no fuss, no big guest list, just a promise. Ricky became her anchor. For years, he told her she still had more left to give, even when she wasn't sure herself. When she decided to audition again for America's Got Talent in 2025, it wasn't a comeback designed by PR. It was personal. She wanted to finish the fight she had started 2 decades earlier. Days after auditioning, she found out she was pregnant. The timing could have pushed her away again, but she chose the opposite. She carried her child and her dream at the same time, step by step, stage by stage. Every round of the competition meant swollen ankles, sleepless nights, nerves hitting harder than ever. The world found out mid-season, not just that she was back, but that she was married and pregnant and standing under the pressure of it all while still singing like her life depended on it. By the finale, the image of her, stomach full and voice raw, became something no one could look away from. When the confetti fell, she had secured the win that had haunted her for 20 years. But victory on these shows isn't as clean as people think. The $1 million prize comes with fine print. It's either 40 years of small checks or a lump sum that shrinks under taxes. For Jessica, the real prize wasn't the cash, but the Vegas residency tied to it. A steady contract, a guaranteed stage, a career platform far more stable than years of piecing things together through touring and odd opportunities. Money mattered, of course. By 2025, her net worth sat around $1 million. Some of it came from streaming royalties, some from overseas tours, a steady trickle from YouTube where old covers still churned ad revenue. AGT added another few $100,000 to her bank, but what mattered more was the leverage. With the title, she wasn't a runner-up anymore. She wasn't the almost there idol kid. She was a champion, headlining in Las Vegas, negotiating from strength for the first time in her life. And yet, as the lights dimmed and the cameras cut, her biggest focus wasn't the stage. It was the daughter she was days away from meeting. She named her Eliana May. Jessica stepped into motherhood with her husband beside her, the AGT crown in one hand and a new life in the other. For once, she didn't have to choose between the two. Her story isn't clean or polished. It's a road full of almosts, pauses, and second tries. She learned the hard way that a voice alone doesn't carry you forever. You need grit, patience, a willingness to vanish for a while and rebuild. She clawed her way through the industry's churn, through disappointment, through years of work that paid in applause but not always security. And when she finally won, it wasn't because she was the most polished or the most hyped. It was because she outlasted. She endured. She carried her music the way she carried her child, close, heavy, and with no promise it would be easy. That night in September wasn't just about victory. It was about survival finally paying off. Winning opened doors that had been locked for years. Within weeks, she was in meetings about new records, her phone ringing with calls that had been silent for almost a decade. The Vegas residency was set to launch in early 2026, a steady paycheck and a permanent stage where she could build something lasting. Talk circled about collaborations, about finally recording the kind of music she wanted instead of chasing charts. Sponsorships, brand deals, streaming boosts, all of it came flying in now that she carried the label of AGT champion. But her future plans weren't just about money or fame. She wanted to balance the stage with home. Jessica spoke about raising her daughter on the road if she had to, about building a schedule that kept her family together instead of tearing them apart. She wanted to use her new platform to help young singers who were caught in the same trap she had been in after Idol, giving them the kind of advice and lifeline she had never been handed. She was already sketching out ideas for a new album, rawer, more honest, and closer to the woman she had become. For the first time, the future didn't feel like a question mark. It felt like something she could finally shape with her own hands. The win gave her stability. Motherhood gave her purpose. And together, they built the kind of foundation she had been chasing for 20 years.